all kinds of bad information, wrong information. And I've got a banner in the back there that says bad information creates bad habits. How many of you hear that? And ruins great theology and destroys your potential. And so I want you to know, saints, I'm here today to give you some biblical information and biblical perspective about this nation of America and what we need to do. And when the foundations are being destroyed, what can the righteous do? Well, I'll tell you what we do. We can be righteous. Our whole modern era has been engaged in destroying foundations and in trying to erect some new foundation on the rubble of the tore down foundation. America has found itself in a very challenging season because people have so buried or so perverted history that the rubble of that destruction is what society and modern society is trying to build on top of that rubble. And how many of you know if you don't clear the rubble off, you can't build something and have it be really solid? How many of you know he's the head? If he's the head, we're the shoulders. The government is upon the shoulders of the church, of his kingdom. Do you hear that? Governments, churches, buildings, they have foundations. God's people, though, have character. Now, I'm moving from foundations for a minute, and I want to show you. America has to have a foundation. But America is an omnious thing. It's amoral, so to speak. America is an amoral institution. It is the people behind that Constitution and that organization that makes America what it is. Do you understand that? And so with that in mind, let me finish with this thought. God's people have character. America has foundation. And you and I, our foundation is our character. How many of you hear that? And character comes from the Greek word meaning a notch, an indentation, a sharpening, scratching, or writing on stone, wood, or metal, an embossing, stamp, making for coins. So when they made a coin like the quarter, that's what it was about, and that's how they got the stamp on it, was the character. They called it the character. The world is hung up on talents, but the church is equally hung up on gifts. And Jesus is the stamp. He is the representation of the character of God. And when you get Jesus in your life, you get the stamp of God in your life. How do you hear that? Character is the combination of qualities distinguishing any person or class of persons. Character is displayed in the action of an individual under pressure. Talents are best nurtured in solitude. Character is best formed in the stormy billows of the world. Character is what you can do without success. Character. Christ is the very character of God, and he's that stamp. Are you listening? Isaiah 30, verse 1 through 2. It says, "Woe to the obstinate children, declares the Lord, to those who carry out plans that are not mine, forming an alliance, but not by my spirit, heaping sin upon sin, who go down to Egypt without consulting me, who look for help at Pharaoh's protection, to Egypt's shade for refuge." How many of you hear that? How many of you know that's a warning to Israel? But how many of you know it could be our warning? Woe to the obstinate children. How many of you know we've become obstinate? Come on, declares the Lord. Those who carry out plans that are not mine. Those who make alliances, forming alliances that are not mine. How many of you know America, Christians, we've been forming alliances with the system of this world so long, there's hardly any difference between them and us. History does not have to repeat itself. I'll read Psalm 11, a little bit of it. Just hold a minute. In 1919, right after World War I, which was a dumb war, we shouldn't have been in it, the Allied forces in Europe captured a copy of a secret document called the Communist Rules for Revolution. And here are the excerpts. Number 1, corrupt the young and get them away from religion. Get them interested in sex and make them superficial and destroy their toughness. Number 2, 1919. Control the media, all means of communication and publicity. Number 3, get people's minds off their government, focusing their attention on athletics, sexy books, and trivialities. Number 4, divide the people into hostile groups against each other by constantly harping on controversial matters of no importance. Number 5, destroy people's faith in their national leaders by holding them up for contempt, ridicule, and distrust. Always preach democracy. Listen, this the communists said. Always preach democracy, but seize power as fast and ruthless as possible. And then look what it says. Humans may destroy the foundations of their system and world, but it has no effect whatsoever on the sovereignty of God. The government is upon his shoulder. Can you hear that? It says, verse 2, look, the wicked bend their bow. They make ready their arrows on the string, that they may shoot secretly at who? The upright in heart. The church. Their plan is to keep shooting these arrows at us. Some of you know, saints, we don't have to have a repeat of these things that have already gone on. We can get a hold of God's word here and really decide we're not going to stay stupid. How many of you remember the old record players and they got stuck? Did you ever hear them when they played the same song? And, you know, and he's singing along. You had to go over and go, boom. My parents would make me go up and hit it. You bump it. You had to be careful. You bump too hard, it's, you know, bump it and change and song and keep playing. How do you know we can all get stuck on stupid and we got to get bumped? Are you listening? When the foundations are being destroyed, what can the righteous do? Be righteous. Look at Psalms 11, verse 4. It's a confession of faith. The Lord is in his holy temple. The Lord is on his holy throne. How many of you know our confession ought to be that God's in the house and God's on the throne? And we ought to declare that God's still in charge of America. God is still in charge of what goes on in this nation.